Former President Richard Nixon and stand-up comedian Shane Gillis, though worlds apart, each found strikingly similar ways to navigate difficult terrain.
That is why I have undertaken initiatives in several areas to open the door for more normal relations between our two countries.
The Civil War was basically just the North just shooting racism out of the South. That's what happened. The North was like, South, fucking chill. And the South was like, no. So then a bunch of guys had to walk down there and shoot them a lot. And they were like, all right, we'll let them go. But we're not going to be nice to them for a while. Until we find out they're good at football and then roll tide.
In 1972, Nixon shocked the world by visiting communist China to open diplomatic relations.
The Washington Post said, if Mr. Nixon had revealed he was going to the moon, he could not have flabbergasted his world audience more.
Nixon's staunch anti-communist reputation empowered him to take this bold step without suffering backlash from his conservative base. Similarly, Shane Gillis uses his persona to explore left-leaning ideas on race, culture, and history while maintaining the trust of his conservative audience. That trust is exactly why Bud Light tapped him as a spokesperson to help smooth over the uproar caused by its ill-fated partnership with a trans influencer. It's the same trust found in his fan base in places like Bakersfield, California.
What happened in Bakersfield?
It was just like dudes that worked on oil rigs that showed up and were just they were hammered, screaming the whole time. My buddy went on stage first, hosting, and before he got a word out, someone was like, where the fuck's Shane?
Gillis has openly said he does not vote for Trump, yet he acknowledges that he could easily be mistaken for one of his supporters.
I did not vote for him. Yeah, fuck yeah. No, I actually did not vote for him, that was tough. Look at me. His whole campaign was at me. I was watching TV, he was like, are you a fucking fat idiot? I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing, dude? We're building walls? Hell yeah. I took skull out of my mouth to come up here. And I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Makes me like the Nelson Mandela of central Pennsylvania.
He is also candid about sharing a certain empathy with conservative feelings about race.
Up until this point, Alabama football was just white. All right? And everybody down there was pumped on that. They would pack the stadium. Everyone would be like, look at all those whites running around, catching it. And look, I'm not knocking them too hard because I still have a little bit of that in me. You know, like if a white guy catches the ball on Sunday, I'm like, oh shit, go, 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 go. Ah, they got him. They got him. It's a tough run, a smart run. Heads up run there.
Then there's the ultimate badge of his conservative credentials, an experience that made him a symbol of cancel culture's overreach.
What were we talking about?
I got hired and fired by Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, it was a traumatic experience.
But a video of Gillis from about a year ago surfaced from Matt and Shane's secret podcast, in which he mockingly mimicked a Chinese accent and used a racist slur to refer to Asian people in Chinatown. Reaction was immediate and unfavorable. Enter Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang. In a series of tweets on Saturday, Yang excoriated anti-Asian racism and slurs. But after going through Gillis's work, Yang said, he does not strike me as malignant or evil. I do not think he should lose his job. We would benefit from being more forgiving rather than punitive. The show opted otherwise.
Shane Gillis just made his own sitcom.
Yeah.
You know, like filmed his own thing. And it's like, that's the thing. At the end of the day, that's what's cool about comedy and having your own audience. That's why I'm so grateful for people that just directly go to my shows, like subscribe to my shit. It's like, I'll just be able to make whatever the fuck I want.
And Shane is a perfect example where it's like the SNL thing happened. That was kind of the height of the cancellation era, and then he just made like a 10 million times funnier SNL.
Yeah,
it's like you guys fucked up.
You know, Shane is almost like cancellation Jesus.
Yeah.
Like he died for all our sins, and now no one can get canceled anymore. It's like, go ahead, cancel me. I guess I'll get more famous.
This background gives him the leeway to poke fun at conservatives without alienating that part of his audience.
I go, hold on a second, that's illegal. When I do it, I go, hey, what would you do? You would do it. Everybody does it. We kind of all love abortion, and I don't. It is disgusting. It's a sin.
He can mock the right's obsession with transgenderism.
I just think it'd be funny if, like, the right started remaking. You know what I mean? If they just start, like, conservatives, like, there's a new Scooby-Doo coming out. And it'd be funny if, like, the right remade it. It's just like Scooby and the gang going around ripping the wigs off of transgender people. It's like, that's not a woman. Some guy would have got away with it.
By far, the best example of Gillis's ability to tackle a deeply sensitive topic in conservative circles comes from his 2023 Netflix special, Beautiful Dogs.
We're in the middle of tearing down statue season. And I was at a Founding Fathers plantation during all of that. So I wanted to check out the slave quarters. I want to see what all the fuss was.
Shane's treading on very thin ice here. Criticizing the Founding Fathers for owning slaves or even addressing racism's role in America's founding has consistently sparked fierce backlash from the right.
A dozen Republican-led states seeking to ban or limit how the role of slavery and the pervasive effects of racism can be taught. Fox News goes all in on the issue.
A curriculum that teaches their kids to hate their country.
The political left, in perpetuating this myth that America is a fundamentally racist country.
Joe Biden now wants to spend your money on critical race theory lessons for our country's already distressed students.
Last month, the Department of Education proposed a regulation that directs tax dollars to the race hustlers who traffic in this poison.
The intensity of this anger stems from a deep-seated need for nationalistic pride, a cornerstone of the right-wing conception of the American story.
And progressives have allowed the right and the MAGA movement to claim a kind of monopoly on national pride. Make America great again. Well, there are a lot of problems with that, but it speaks to the aspiration for national pride.
Shane Gillis's brilliant challenge to the myth of unblemished heroism takes place at George Washington's plantation at Mount Vernon in Virginia.
Washington slave quarters. By the way, the first thing you do when you walk into George Washington slave quarters is you go, ooh. Somehow worse than I thought they were going to be. It's rough, dude. That guy had a fucking dungeon. For real, you didn't know? I'm in there. And I'm by myself, and I'm like, you know, you remember that time, it was a tense fucking time in this country, and I'm in there by myself like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then I hear some footsteps coming down the path behind me, and now blocking the only exit of the room was a slave reenactor. They have those there. And he did not break character. I turned around, he was like, oh, well, hello there, sir. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, please, you don't have to do the character. I'd give anything for you to not do that character.
The character of the slave reenactor forces Shane to confront deeply uncomfortable truths about the Founding Fathers. Gillis is then thrust into the role of a white man struggling to grapple with the privilege afforded by his place in America's racial hierarchy.
Say a word, I was frozen. I was paralyzed with white guilt. I didn't say a word. And he knew what he was doing. He, for real, he knew what he was doing, dude. He wasn't giving me the George Washington tour. He was just drilling me with shit I didn't want to hear. He was hitting me with the what? You remember that time, tense time. That guy walks in there and sees me. I know what I look like. I know exactly. I've got the body type of a guy who says, let's see the rest of the body cam footage before we jump to any conclusions. I know what I look like. He wasn't even giving me the George Washington tour. He was just telling me fucked up shit. He was talking about other people. He's like, Thomas Jefferson had about 6 slave children of his own. He only freed 2 of his own children during his lifetime. I was like, Jesus Christ. Isn't that a bummer? Thomas Jefferson literally enslaved some of his own children. Yeah. Now you know how I felt, dude. I was getting fucking drilled with this information. That's when I started playing possum a little bit. I was like, maybe I am a special needs guy. So he was hitting me with the fucking white guilt facts. I was... It was a battle, dude. It was like 2 wizards fighting.
Gillis presents a nuanced perspective, balancing his disgust for the inhumanity of slavery with a deep admiration for Washington's greatness. This balance is the crux of why his critique works. He never renounces the pride he feels in America's founding. He simply acknowledges that it's tinged with shame.
I was still mad at him. I was going through the museum. I was like, George Washington, fucking asshole. Like, George Washington had red hair. I was like, ugly bitch. I was trying to be cool and liberal and hate him. I couldn't do it, dude. They started pumping up George. Got me going, dude. I was going through the museum. They're like, George Washington was 6'2". I was like, nice. Like, he could never tell a lie. I was like, this guy's unbelievable. Like, he single-handedly defeated the British. At this point, I'm back. No, dude, I'm worse. Nobody better touch my statues. I love statues. I'm ready to get on Facebook, defend Rittenhouse, whatever I need to do to help this country get better.
Finally, Gillis concludes with a reflection on how reality is always more complicated than the myth.
You get to the end of the tour, and the last thing you see on the George Washington tour is George Washington's teeth in a case. And if you know, the myth is George Washington had wooden teeth. Turns out George Washington it was ivory and lead dentures with horse and cow teeth on the top row and human slave teeth on the bottom row. Damn, what the fuck? That's it. That's how the tour ends. You gotta walk outside to a hot, sunny parking lot. Like, what the fuck was that? Also, lead with the teeth. Show me the teeth right away. Dude, don't make me love George Washington for 2 hours and at the very end be like, you want to see some wild shit?
This myth, like so many others surrounding Washington, underscores the enduring reverence Americans have for him. Even as Gillis grapples with the darker truths of Washington's legacy, he can't help but feel a personal admiration that resonates with all of us. After all, George Washington's name and image are everywhere. A state, the nation's capital, the Purple Heart, currency, countless monuments, and enduring stories, from chopping the cherry tree to crossing the Delaware. Just as Nixon's anti-communist credentials enabled him to boldly open relations with communist China without being labeled as weak, Gillis easily being mistaken for a patriotic right-wing white guy allows him to critique the hypocrisy in America's founding mythology without conservative backlash. It's in this context that Nixon's words still resonate.
Nixon said, I think the most important thing to note is that in America, at least at this time, those on the right can do what those on the left can only talk about.
What makes Gillis's critique so powerful is that he offers only his own personal and hilarious reflections without imposing judgment. However, he refuses to let us off the hook, leaving us with a question, one that lingers without the comfort of an easy answer.
And as soon as you walk into that museum, they start pumping up George. You walk in, they're like, George Washington was a great man. You're like, I just came from his dungeon. But, you know, I'm American. I'll forget about that part of his history. What else did he do, you know? We're not going to let human trafficking define these guys, are we? Huh?